Hello, Sharks. Good morning. Happy Friday. I am excited to be with you today. Um, Today, actually, I'm hosting a retreat for my clients. So it's a very small retreat. We're doing all the COVID precautions to be able to have some of my clients come meet me in person. All right. So, anyways, I digress. What we are talking about today is highly valuing yourself. And what we're going to spend some time talking about is breaking down some myths and some conditioning that really gets in the way of that happening. Now, this is especially true for women, although I've definitely seen it true for men. So, for those of you who are new, my name is Brie Sodano. I'm a personal finance expert, founder of From Sheep to Shark. I invented the invisible system, and sharkschool.online is the place where all of my courses are. So if this is your first time ever catching me live, please go ahead and say hello. And I would super appreciate some hearts and some likes because that boosts the algorithm. And so that way more people will get to see the video. So I always appreciate that. And if you're someone who watches all the time, please say hello. And again, if you really like the content, please feel free to tag somebody in it or to share if you know somebody that needs to hear this. All right. So today we're going to be talking about highly valuing yourself. And I'm going to just tell you guys, like, 'cause I'll just be vulnerable for a minute. So yesterday I was realizing that I have some patterns around how I grow my business. So a lot of times I make big investments in my business and it kind of like almost forces the growth really. And so part of that pattern is that during that expansion period, that's honestly a little forced. I've done this a couple times. I'm not really fairly paying myself for all the work that I do. So this has happened a few times where now I see that it's a pattern, right? So like the first time you do something, you're like, oh, all right. Second time, you're like, I feel like this is familiar. And then you do it again and you're like, pattern. And so I started journaling on this. And what I realized was that I was placing a higher value on my business growth than I was on, let's say, profitability or owner compensation, or I mean, mostly those two things. And so it kind of hit me that I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to see that in my business, I don't get valued first, right? I'm at honestly toward the middle to the bottom of the list. And actually it was just this year, in the beginning of this year, that I really put myself on salary. Like I've been making money for a long time and I've been paying myself, but up until recently, I didn't have a set consistent salary. The money would come into the business and I would pay it out. And I will tell you that honestly has made me resentful of the business and my employees a couple times. And that's like not who I want to be. That's not it. So I put myself on salary and I can see that for my own self, that raised the standard for me. And so if you guys follow my work, I just turned 36, not just, now it's July. I turned 36 in July, and this is my year of upgrades, was the thing that I said to myself. And in my realization that I had yesterday, I realized that a lot of the places that really needed the upgrades were like literally around like my own stuff, like my clothes were now I've started to upgrade. I've gotten rid of a lot of the stuff that doesn't fit. I don't like whatever else. But I realized like it's my clothes, it's my house. It's those are the sort of things that were really in need of upgrades. And it kind of hit me that I was like, holy crap, man. I don't highly value myself. And that is massively uncomfortable to say out loud and to say on the internet. But I think I'm sharing this because I did a lot of work journaling on this. And I want to share some of my realizations because now that I'm seeing it in my clients too, this exact same pattern, which normally we would have addressed in a different kind of way. So we get taught often that our value comes from putting everyone else first. This is especially true. This is especially true of women, and like extra super duper of mothers. Where if you have kids, somehow like you're not allowed to live until every single one of their needs, wants, desires, and happiness is fulfilled. And if your kids aren't perfectly okay, you should not be able to go out to lunch with your friends, right? And what's funny is if you look at mom shaming, you can actually see that it's generally people really promoting having a very low value on yourself, and it's interesting now that I see it. So that's one of the ways that we do this. Another way that we really have an interesting view on value for ourselves is valuing how you look, right? We live in a culture where beauty is honestly like a standard, where it's, beautiful people have an easier life, right? It's part of all of this. And so I've seen a lot of people like kind of mistake their self-care for really just like trying to extract the value from the world by looking a certain kind of way. Right? I see it for myself. So one of my things for year of upgrades was that I want to like really get my fitness in check. Like I've gained a lot of weight since starting this business, and then during the COVID, during the quarantine, I'll tell you, you know what I did? I got really good at making cinnamon buns. So then I've uh so whatever. So I have probably like 40 pounds to lose to get me back to like where I'd feel comfortable. And then I could probably lose like another 30 pounds and still be a healthy woman. And I've been not wanting to do it. Like I've been going to the gym, but really like half-assing it, like really kind of faking it. And I realized that like, man, all the times I've been in really good shape, it was not because I was highly valuing myself and my body and my time. It was because I was very much wanting to look a certain way. And it was not like for my own internal goodness. It was so that way when you saw me, you would think a certain kind of thing about me. And the difference is very nuanced. And you have to really do some deep introspective work to be able to tell that difference. But I'm like, oh God, all right. Even like, so they can, yeah. So that's a thing. Putting everyone else first. And then a lot of times too, I'll see clients giving it before they have it. I get into my clients' transactions with them. And so I have a lot of clients who are making big donations, who are supporting other adults, like giving their friends, their family, like taking care of other people in a way financially before they've really taken care of their own selves. So it's like, let's say I have $20 in my pocket. You ask for the 20, I give you the 20, and then I'm the one with the problem. It's just like a problem moving. So now you have the $20 and I have the problem that used to be yours type thing. And so that's another way that I see clients kind of eroding their value for themselves. So I just wanted to have this conversation today to talk about, like, we talk about self-care and self-love. And what's interesting is that I think self-love and highly valuing yourself they're slightly different. Because if you would ask me at any of these point in times, like, hey, do you love yourself? I'd be like, yeah, I do. I'm generally kind in the way that I speak to myself. I mean, sometimes I'm not, sometimes I get a little on myself, but really like in general, I'm kind to myself. I say nice things to myself in my own mind. I don't abuse myself. Like, I don't go to the gym to work out super crazy hard. I don't do things to punish myself. I don't, there's some patterns there that I see other people doing. I'm generally, I treat myself with a certain level of love. But somehow that wasn't translating to highly valued. And when I think about it and I really really, really look at it, I can see the women in my life didn't model highly valued. They modeled put everyone else first, take care of yourself last. They modeled that. That's really what I saw growing up. And I went to Catholic school, and there was a lot of that too, like service above self, service above self. I mean, I heard service above self probably a half a million times in my upbringing. And what's interesting that now that I look at it is, so I recently just added some supports into my business. So now I have somebody that does sales. So actually, if you wanted to work with me, you're going to talk to somebody who's going to help you decide if that's a good fit. But that was a support that I needed because I just don't have I mean, my business is growing fast, and I just don't have the capacity to do it anymore. And so putting that support in, like, look, I just justified it to you right now. I didn't celebrate it. I wasn't like, hell yeah, I got somebody to do sales. Da, da, da. We're going to help more people. We're going to make more money. It's going to be great. I was like justifying it to you, right? You guys are live. I'm like, I really needed it. It was important, right? So I'm justifying these things. I added a housekeeper to like my household stuff, and that level of support is honestly, it was like uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to do. It's uncomfortable to be supported in that way because I kind of grew up like having to take care of myself, and that really being like the standard. So now to be supported seems uncomfortable, and I'm growing into it. I mean, it's going to be fine. Like it's all coming together. It's all working. So, but being able to be supported is one of those things that you can do once you highly value yourself. So if you're someone who never lets someone get the door for you, who never lets someone help you when you need it, like that's a sign that you have to do it all yourself to be this person in your mind. So it's like being able to be supported is a sign of is a sign that you're highly valued because you're able to like receive that level of support. And it's, man, I'll tell you, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable at first, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, my house is clean. It feels so good. All right. Bev says, adding that support for myself has also made me uncomfortable, and she's getting there. Yeah. It's funny because, so what I see is that the more I'm supported, the more I like words come out of my mouth for what I actually want and need to feel supported, like to, the more I treat myself really, not just kindly, but with value. Like I started upgrading like my wardrobe. I started buying clothes that fit. Like, do you know how many times I've said to myself, well, I'm not going to buy my clothes that fit my actual body until I'm the size that I actually want my body to be. So what, if I'm not a perfect size, I don't value myself enough to wear clothes that fit? Like I've said this to myself. This is admitting this to you guys on the internet. Feels gross and vulnerable. So thank you for bearing with me as I share this, but I think it's valuable to see, because if I'm willing to fess up to it, maybe you'll see it too, and maybe you'll take a different action and you'll value yourself more highly. And like, that's actually really the point. And so anyways, oh, Jenny says you're talking about my life. Yeah. So we get conditioned to not value ourselves, to put ourselves last, to do everything else. So, oh, Allison says she does the same thing. All right. So I'm in good company here. It's not. Yeah. All right. Great. So so I've committed to certain kinds of action. So I'll share those with you guys. So that way, if I mean, obviously you're not all in business, but you can take these things and apply them to your own lives. So one of the first things that I'm going to do is I will tell you that one of my first goals when I first started doing personal development work, I read Think and Grow Rich, and you have to have a burning desire. He talks about, Napoleon Hill talks about this burning desire. So I said to myself, I'm going to give away $100 million. And this has been my goal until today. The thing is I did a decade in the nonprofit world, and I actually don't think charity is the most effective way to actually solve societal problems. like 100%. I've been in boardrooms. I've written grants. I know the dirty secrets. I've seen how the money flows, and I've seen, I don't know. I also live in a fairly corrupt city. So whatever, but that's not my goal anymore. I'm deciding that I want my family to be 100% financially independent by the time I'm 46, which is 10 years. So and then I'm generous in my nature. Like, I want to be generous because I want to be generous, but putting that level of pressure on myself drove some interesting decisions in how I grow and how I grow the business and how I spend money. And I can see that they're very tied to that goal because I've been chasing revenue growth for a long time, trying to get this $1 billion footprint so I can, have this goal to give away this $100 million. And it doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like it's like a person who just keeps making their garden bigger and bigger, thinking that's going to get them more fruits, but they haven't watered or weeded the garden that already exists. So I'm going to start to really refocus for my own self on profitability and making sure that I'm fairly I'm going to figure out the percentage, and then that's going to be how I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get paid a percentage of revenue instead of like the crumbs that are left over after all my business expenses. So there's that. Also, I'm going to just decide that I love to be supported, because I have a really big dream, and it's literally impossible for me to help all the people in this world that I want to help by myself. Like, it's literally impossible. I've tried for the last couple of years. And what's so interesting is when it comes to being supported, it's like embarrassing almost. Like, I don't want to tell you guys I got a housekeeper. I don't want to tell you I got a salesperson. I don't want to tell you these things because somehow I feel like I'm cheating you by not doing it all myself. Even though, do you care who sweeps my floors? No, of course not. You give zero craps about that. Do you care if a VA posts on my Instagram? No, of course not. Why? Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. The things that like we think we have to do to meet our own sense of being highly valued. So anyways, so there's that. And then also there's some upgrades that I want to make in my house. So if you guys have been following me for a minute, I'm working on redoing my kitchen, redoing my bathroom, redoing my deck. And these are things that I want to do to be like, this is how I just want to live my life. And I find that the more I'm willing to be supported and the more I'm willing to put myself first in some ways, the more generous and the more I can give and the better I can be and the bigger of the impact that I can make, because I have all of my needs met and I'm not giving it away before I have it. I'll tell you, I have clients a lot of times who just are giving everything away. They're just like, I'm in their transactions and I see it. I'm like seeing they're giving it away to, and but then they're without. So then instead of being able to give from a place of overflow and generosity, it's just, yeah, I think I already said this. It just like moves the problem a little bit. And so anyways, these are some of my big realizations for today, is that I want to highly value myself. And I feel like the more I can do that without justifying or apologizing or, feeling gross about it, the more I'm going to teach my daughter how to do that, the more I'm going to teach my son how to do it. And the more permission everybody else is going to have to do it. Because when you're fully taken care of, like in your own, like fully in your own self, you could be so much more generous in the world. Like, you can just show up because you're not depleted, you're not exhausted, you're not so busy. Like, busy, broken, exhausted are the exact same problem that shows up in different areas of your life. It's wild. And it's like when you have to put everyone else's needs first for you to have your own sense of value, that's it. I mean, you're busy, broken, exhausted because there's not enough money to solve the whole world's problems, and there's not enough time to take care of everyone else's crap, and there's not enough energy to do that for everyone. Like, you can't, like, and this is the standard that we grow up with. I literally watched all the women that I know put everyone else first, everyone. And I just am like, I'm a little mad about it, actually. I'm like a little fired up. There's like an internal pissed offness. So anyways, that is my talk for today. I'll probably talk about this again, actually, because this was my first time talking about this. So it's like a little incoherent, little rambling. But as I start to do a little bit more work on it, I'm sure I'll put some activities together so you guys can see them. Because yeah, last night in my journal, I was talking about like what judgments made me think this way. What were the things that I saw that like I learned to be true based on how everybody else behaves, and then like what this does on like my thought level makes me, and then on an emotional level is like sometimes I just will feel guilty about things that require no guilt. It's wild. Like it just doesn't, it's just like when you say it out loud, it doesn't make sense, but I'll tell you, I've totally felt guilty for making way more money than other people that I know. Why? This doesn't make sense. It's not like if I do it that they can't do it. It doesn't make sense. It's not like I stole it from their pockets. It's not. I just happen to be more successful, and I felt guilty about that, or I felt like I didn't deserve it. There's definitely been some emotions around all of those things, or a visceral uncomfort about actually being able to spend the money that I make. Making the money is one thing. Spending it is somehow a little different. So, anyways, I'll throw a link in the comments. So if you want to be my client, if you want to work with me, sort this stuff out for yourself, I'm happy to talk to you. You can go to briesodano.com, apply for a call. Actually, my calendar's a little bit booked, so you may be talking to my salesperson who's wonderful and incredibly insightful, and just honestly, like, you'll get so much out of talking to either one of us. So there's that. So if you want to talk to us, so I generally work with my clients for either 6 months or a year, depending on what it is that they need. So my 6-month program is called Cash Confident, and that is a program. Most of the people who come see me there they're making generally about $100,000 a year or better household income, and they're coming to see me with problems like no control over their cash flow, credit card debt, or even though that sounds like a lot of money, they're still under earning. Like their desires are much bigger than their income. So those are the kind of problems that we solve there. So generally, cash confident clients tend to be employees. They work for someone else. And then I have a year-long program called Limitless Wealth, and that's for business people, for business owners, entrepreneurs. And so there we're learning like next level emotional intelligence, next level wealth management, tax strategies. Well, I bring someone in for that. I don't teach on taxes, but like business strategies, marketing. We're working on making way more money, increasing time potency, things like that. So that's a 12-month program, and both are fantastic. It just depends on where you're at to like make sense for you. And then of course we have online classes. So you can go to sharkschool.online and see what we have in terms of online offerings. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for your comments today, everyone. Jennifer, I really appreciate you. And just thank you for saying all those. Bev, did you just say you paid off all your credit cards today? Yeah. You guys, can we just give Bev a round of applause? I know you're at your houses or whatever, but I feel like that's so good at work. It's totally worth it to be celebrating. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Cecilia. Thank you, Lori. Thanks, Bev. Thanks, Ginny. Thanks, Allison and Jennifer. I so appreciate that you hung out with me today. Yes. Woohoo. I'm so excited for you, Bev. All right. So I love you, and I will talk to you later. And if you have any comments about feeling highly valued, please feel free to share. All right. Bye, everyone.